to visit us at was with us at PAX. So clearly, like if Michael Handy doesn't think that he is today's special guest, then yeah. Okay, cool. So now I actually see that Twitch is updating. Mm-hmm. So, all right, guys. I would like to introduce you to Nikki.
Hey guys.
Nikki, this is the stream. This is Nikki. And Nikki is here to help us, which is to say to help Stonehearth with our UI, because as many of you have pointed out, our UI is incredibly complicated and like kind of cute but also nightmarishly bad, especially in some key areas. So that is something that we are really happy that Nikki is here to help us with. So if you guys see her on Discourse, please say hi, and please say hi today. And what I was thinking we could do today is for us to start a game, and Nikki, for you to tell us like some of the things you think about the UI of the game, and some of the ideas you have for fixing the UI of the game, like as we go through.
Cool.
So, all right. And in the meantime, good evening, everybody. Crab, Katisha Honey, Joe Maxro, Michael Handy, good to see you. Mr. Monkey 191. It's a guest. Okay, so maybe as we're getting Stonehearth started, Nikki, you could tell us a bit about how you first came to know about Stonehearth, and like, you know, what some of the things that you're excited to be working on in the game, some of the things you enjoy.
Yeah, sure. So I, like many other people, found Stonehearth. Someone recommended it to me, especially after, like, I'm originally with Riot, and so when Riot bought Radiant, I heard about the game. Someone mentioned it to me kind of in passing when we were down in the Riot office, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot, I'll try it out. And I'm like most people, thought, okay, I'm gonna play this game for like 10 minutes and see how it is, and then like 10 hours later I'm like, this game is great. There's so much going on, there's so much good stuff, it's so cute. So that was kind of how I found it. And then when I had an opportunity to come work on it here and be part of the team, I jumped at the chance, you know. Was super excited, knew there was a lot of potential for the game, knew that a lot of things could be worked on and fixed and could push it even further. So yeah, I was super excited to come up here and work. I was originally down in LA, but now living up here and working with Stonehearth. Yeah.
We were super excited to have Nikki because, well, like I said, our UI has many problems, and you have surmounted like catastrophically bad problems working like on previous projects, right?
Yeah.
My understanding is you've worked with like teams of hundreds of people.
Yes.
So this would be like a hopefully fantastically quiet change for you.
Yes, I was really looking forward to it. It was nice to go from like a huge project. So for anyone who plays League at all, like I was working on the new client update, which is rolling out now to the public. So I was working with a ton of people, and it is nice to kind of scale it back and work on a very small team again, going from working like, you know, hundreds upon hundreds of people with many moving parts to working directly with people who are working on all the parts of the game. So, yep.
Yeah, I'm super happy about it too. Like just going from working with a lot of people, and it's just very intimate and very.
It's
very
nice
friendly.
to know everyone's name in a way, like know who you're walking by and be sitting with the entire team, like being able to poke someone on the shoulder, and that's nice.
Exactly. So if you guys have any questions for Nikki about user experience design, about UIs in general, about Nikki's thinking about Stonehearth, or if you are thinking about UX at all as like a career choice, please go ahead and ask them.
And if you're not thinking about it, you should be thinking about it.
like also let me know, like what do you guys know about user experience as a field, beside engineering, as a field, you know, beside design. We'd be happy to talk about that too.
Cool.
Okay, so here we are with Alpha 19 and Nar Saicha. Would you like to start a new game?
Yes, let's start a new game.
Cool. Let me know what you're thinking about these screens as we sort of go through them too. Like clearly the splash screen is beautiful because Ali's art is always beautiful.
I love it. Yeah. She did this one all digitally this time versus her like mixed media, and she was saying how she didn't like it, how it didn't capture, and I was like, what, are you crazy? This thing is amazing. It looks so good. Artists.
It's just this too for me. Like she actually started, this piece didn't have any people in it. It was just like a quiet rise town, Raya's Children town at night, and then she added these people, and suddenly the dynamic was like tremendously different, and like
the little guy like yelling with fire is like one of my favorites, and the like Hearthling just being like, yeah, what's up? That's great. So yeah, even for this screen, like was going back through some of like the old original PSDs that like Tom had worked on, and had found a screen where they showed a bunch of like Discord threads being like on the front page, or Steam, Steam community input, things like that, or new updates that we had done. And I thought that was a really cool concept of bringing a little bit more of that like community feel in, which is cool. It also lets people know there are other people playing the game, which is kind of a nice feel to it. So I was like, something like that would be really cool on this page, just to have that, like, this is a really close community. Everyone seems to know most people, and everyone, it's a really like great feedback community. So that would be cool to see what everyone's working on a regular basis.
Yeah, honestly, I would love to log in and see Michael handy one of your cities, like right there.
Yeah,
like it would be really cool. Jim Axter wants to know, off topic, if you're originally from California. Jim Axter, why do you... Okay, whatever. He wants to know. You don't have to actually answer the question.
No, it's fine. I am not originally from California. I have lived in probably 10 major cities now. I moved around. I moved around for work and for school and for a bunch of just different opportunities that came up. So I actually have a weird, like, amalgamation of a bunch of different places. Like I'll have words that I got from when I lived in Seattle, or like Baltimore, or New York, and like all these different places. So yeah, that's probably where you're hearing it. I've got a weird thing going on, so that's fine.
All right, and thanks, Mystic Warhammer. I'm glad you found today's Desktop Tuesday interesting. Let's see, Timur. Hey Timur, good to see you. Also good to see you, King Foxtrot. Timur says UX. First you've heard of that field. How would you define user experience as a field?
Interesting. So the way that I always kind of explain UX to people is that if you take a bicycle, say this is the best example. It's the best example I have. So take a bicycle, and when you think about engineers, you're thinking about the way that they build the parts. If you think about the parts of a bicycle, it's kind of like what an engineer does. It's like they build the wheels, they build the frame, they build what basically makes up a bike, right? And then you have your visual designers and artists who are like, I need to make this bike beautiful. I need to make it easily understood. Like, I want you to look at it and desire this bike. I want you to buy this bike, right?
Right.
And then you have like your product owners who are like, I have a vision for what this thing is. I have a vision for a bike, and here's like how we should put all the parts together in order for this bike to be the best bike it can be. And then like UX is the handlebars are on the correct way. I'm not riding this bicycle backwards. I can break this thing because the thing that I'm thinking about is like, I need to be able to stop or slow down or speed up. And then how does it feel to ride that bike? Like you could get on many different bikes, and there's many different bikes in this world. But when you get on it, each one has a different feeling to it. It's like the experience that you have when you ride that bike, that's kind of what user experience is. Aside from it like being usable and accessible. Right. So
I feel like there's a strong connection. It's a field that is about connecting the user of the thing, or the player of the game, to the technology, to the elements of it.
It's humanizing software that was never really meant to be used by humans, like in an interface way. So it's how do we more connect those two together and make that seamless.
Right. Awesome. Would you like Ascendancy or Raya's Children today?
Let's go with Ascendancy.
Okay. I think that's a great demonstration of UX too, and it's a very audience-friendly definition of user experience.
Yeah, I've had to give that definition a lot, even with people I work with. So one thing that I have always noticed about this is, and one thing I want to change about this screen is that, and you're fine, is the menus overlaying the text behind it. When I first played through, I was like, I can't actually see what's behind it, so I can't decide or understand if my stuff has an impact. Right. So yeah, that's something I want to change. Other than that, I think the screen, like the story it tells with the picture on the right hand side is pretty awesome. So that's pretty exciting for me.
More of Ali being fantastically Ali. Like. All right, so Michael Handy says, Stonehearth idea, think about it, perks for towns that tie into tiers for towns, and you can pick only one out of 3 each tier. Oh, that's really cool. Add a specialty to the town. Example, as you reach tier 2, 3 perks, crafter speed up by 1%, footmen gain 1%, or workers have 1%, and then if you reach tier 3, you can pick up perks of another one. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, it's like your town has a character sheet in some sense and specializes as a town, right?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think that would lead to some interesting choices and trade-offs, and I tend to like that. It reminds me of one of the mechanics, like playing Stardew Valley right now, and one of the mechanics they have in skill leveling up is you have to choose between one type of the profession or another. Like fishing, it's like, oh, you can have a crab pot specialty or you can have a fishing specialty, and they give you different stats. Same kind of thing. It's like I like trade-offs like that that help you make meaningful choices.
Sure.
So
yeah. Timur says, kind of like how many, I guess this is in reference to the UX stuff, many of the different Windows operating systems feel different from each other, or operating systems in general. Nice explanation. And then Fearshrine says, hey Fearshrine, Windows 10 UI versus Windows 8 UI.
Oh, yeah. So a lot of people complain about Windows 10, and like one of our devs is like hates Windows 10. He's just always grumbling about it when sitting next to me. He's like, just give me back Windows 8.
Windows 8, really? He wants to go back to 8?
Yes, it's just, or whatever I'm not a Windows user, so.
7, maybe?
I don't know. I'm not a Windows user. But from the like outside of not being like a hardcore Windows user, I think that 10 was trying to go in a really good direction. I think they're trying to make it more usable, trying to make it more friendly for a wider audience, but I think they failed on a bunch of fundamental levels, like personalization. I feel like one of the things that makes Windows a great platform is that it allows you to do anything you kind of want with it. So I think that PC and Windows users have grown accustomed to that. So even down to like setting favorites in your bar and things like that, and then disappearing the next day or getting completely wiped, you're just like, what is the point of this?
Sure. But I imagine for me, anyway, sorry, total distraction. Stop us, you guys. Tell us, like, like, I imagine the conversation that they must have had at Microsoft when they were like, we can unify the UI across all tablets, all phones, and all computers. And, like, I can hear it. I can hear the people arguing pro and con.
Yes.
And I'm just so grateful that that is not what I work on right now.
Yeah. I'm like, operating system's not my cup of tea. I don't think I'd be so happy working on that kind of stuff, but.
Right. Yeah. Does this look like a fair selection? What do you think when you look at the screen?
So yeah, so this was when I first played through, like, the initial impression that I got from the screen was I don't understand why I should have any of these things. I don't understand, should I have more people with hearts? Should I have more people with books? Should I have more people with these crazy little sword wing things, right? It's like, I don't know. And so hovering over them gave me some insight, and I was like, okay, I guess I should have some balance because they probably, we got a burly hands in here. It's cute. So yeah, I think that was one of the things that the screen, I want to help new players or even repeat players understand what the value is in having these different stats. Same thing with the store of I don't understand what the trade-offs are or what's important or what I need to kind of like start my town. So yeah, just kind of like making an educated guess. I think one time I went without the farmer's hoe as like raised children or something, and I was like, well, I'm starving now. I have no way of getting food. There's nothing around to get it, so my town was like starving to death. But yeah, so stuff like that, just helping people understand what's important, because like the min-maxer in me is like I want to have all the best things. So
right,
yeah.
I think too, like, I mean, my guess is that when Richard goes through this, it's not going to be about min-maxing per se. There isn't going to be a right answer.
Mm-hmm, yes.
There might be different right answers based on what it is that you're hoping to do.
Yeah.
Like, right now, I feel so strongly like the Trapper's Knife is the right answer when you're the Ascendancy. Like, because all of these things are relatively easy for the Carpenter to make.
But the Trapper's Knife comes, at a later point, and, it's harder to get.
Exactly, yeah. So, let's see. Wow, Repeat Pan, it is good to see you here. Of course, we drew you out by talking about Windows, right? Fearshrine, you write, for Stephanie, is Ragnarol coming? I cannot remember who Ragnarol is.
I'm too new to know that name.
Yeah, remind me. I might be just missing it. Okay, so where would you feel like settling?
I'm always I like to roll the map until I get someplace that's like strategically advantage, like has a strategic advantage. So I like to have some place that's like backed into the mountains, but in an open valley. But the valley is somewhat enclosed. Like this would be a good one over here in the corner, like right here, like towards the mountain. I don't know, like for some reason it has like you're close enough to minerals. You've got chance of having like berry bushes and things like that, and yeah. So also when I saw this, I didn't understand. I didn't understand what the value of these little things are. I was like, I guess I have to try to get all 4 in an area, and then it's like the best area. But it was really hard, so I usually went for like 3 and 3 and 3, or didn't actually pick what I thought would be a cool place to start. I was trying to like get the best mix.
I do think that this is terrible. Like, first of all, this is not useful to me. Like I know the game. Like, I don't care. I never look at this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, okay, over here somewhere there'll be berry bushes.
Yeah, right? I'm like, there's a chance of food here. Yeah. I know, and every time after that, I have been like, oh, where do I want to settle? Because I don't have to really worry about all that stuff. Besides, I guess, like, mining materials, but you can really just go, see, berry bushes. You did a good job.
Thank you. I've only been doing this for how long?
They're like high chance of berry bushes in this location.
Right. It's the little like berry bushes only appear at the edges of forests near plains. So like, you can, but if you're sufficiently near the mountains, like we could settle up here, we could go up and down, like now that we have ladders that go down as well as go up.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're Shrine, I'm going to click on this link, but it's not going to appear inside the...
Oh yeah, I did see this one.
Of course.
So cool.
I think it might be a while.
That's gonna be a while.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while from now. So I asked Richard, I was like, hey Richard, could we just go straight to Titans? Like, would there be any problem if like we spent all of January on Titans? And he was like, in order to get Titans, we would need to accomplish, and then he listed like 50 things. And I was like, okay, so what you're saying is that we can't do Titans in January. And he was like, I mean, like...
February.
Yeah. No. But his idea was basically that in order to really understand how to make the end game work, like, we need to understand better what's going on in the middle game and what's not working about it. So, like, for example, one of the things we're doing in Alpha 20 is we're working on Hearthling happiness as a mechanism of saying, like, hey, the Hearthlings, like, are happy and sad based on how they interact with their food, interact with their beds, interact with how much brightness or darkness there is in the world. It's a mechanism to tie together a lot of the existing systems to make them stickier and to make them like optimize with each other better. And so we're gonna be re-examining core systems before we finally go out to finding out what the end game is like, so that the end game will make sense in the context of those core systems. Otherwise there will just be a giant Titan, and I don't know, like
and your whole town dies.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that the happiness system is going to be a lot of fun. Like, it's been good to see the potential that can be there. Things that are more complicated, more fleshed out, of like your cities becoming different every time you play, because your Hearthlings are reacting differently, and are different, unique people, and from happiness will spring like unique traits and things that will really have them become individuals in their own right, and very unique little towns, I think.
All right, Michael Handy says, it is okay to have minerals near the water, you just have to dig really deep. I actually have never really thought about that. Like, I do know that if you dig enough dirt, like, you will eventually, like... I did not know that there was actually rock under the dirt, so that's, like, because I look at the side of the world and I'm like, really? Is there? Okay, but, okay.
Yeah, TIL, so I
learned. Never go for the berry bush, I'll just go grab them and pull me to,
Yeah.
Well, I feel like, you were one of those people who, like, are like, oh, look, we've got flowers, like, let's
go
move
grab them.
all.
Yeah, I do that too, though.
It's
like,
very
I can move it over here and, like, make a cute little, like, herbalist hut with little flowers out front. It's very, very, so much thematic cohesion, right? I would say.
Okay, January is not the Northern Alliance, but thank you, Michael Handy, for expressing your enthusiasm for our Viking people. Easter says I'm having flashes of dwarven death spirals. Yes. Like, let's try to avoid that. Richard is
Yes.
like, let's not have catastrophic failure. Oh, I don't know if you guys have totally seen it in Alpha 19 probably, but if people are idle for a certain period of time, like they will communicate with each other. And Mally and Linda worked on this, and it was actually really complicated to get two people to get their AI to like mesh in a time in which they could communicate.
They didn't want to talk.
Yeah, they really didn't want to talk. And like we decided to turn this technology into an idol so that we didn't have to. We knew we would use it for lots of things, like people admiring stuff and people like having other interactions with each other. But we first wanted it to be an idol because idols don't actually affect gameplay. We didn't want to both do the tech and do the gameplay at the same time. So, but now we have the tech, so we can include gameplay that involves two people interacting with each other. Well, okay, so Mally says he made the wave animation, but, like, if you hadn't made the wave animation, we would just see these two people standing here.
Yeah.
So,
Little bubbles popping over there. I mean, that would not be as great, I think.
right. Emmy Lopez M says, hey guys, awesome work with Rise Children on Alpha 19. I'm having a blast. I'm so happy that you are. I think that, like, that was, like, lots of work from Ali to make those beautiful templates. Lots of work from Linda on the quests. So,
Yeah, I really like it now. It gives that group so much more personality. I think
Yeah.
like when I play through it, it feels really good in the desert area that they're in. It feels very specific.
So, let's see. Fishrind asks, how would you redesign the base UI of the game?
So I'm working on that right now.
Okay.
I am working on redesigning the entire in-game UI. That started almost 2 weeks ago now. Pretty deep into it. I had to do some things for Alpha 20 first that relate to the happiness system in the existing screens that we already have. But yeah, the full UI redesign will be coming probably in another later alpha that we can all work together, because it's a pretty huge undertaking, especially with the stuff that I'm trying to do. Like, a couple of things that I noticed right off the bat while playing were, like, the menus are huge, and since it doesn't pause your game when you're in a menu, it is detrimental because you need to be able to see kind of what's going on behind it. You always have to be closing the window to see what's going on, or, you know, the windows are in places, or the menus are in places that are really strange, or, you know, not conducive to the action that's happening on the screen. So yeah, that's like reducing size is one of the major things that I want to do, and then also batching things. So batching things in ways that make really like much more sense. So you have things that you take action upon. For example, you have your, you know, your harvest tool, your lay down, you know, your stockpiles, you got your building, you've got your crafting, and your fighting, and it's like those are core actions. And then you've got your town overview and your citizens and your inventory, for example, that will all be part of like an info section that will be much more clear of like what the use of all these things are. So
Sure. How did you, like, when you're thinking about, oh man, like, this is an existing UI, how do you know, like, it's time for a UI redesign? Like, what, you know, what sort of, like, you talked about, oh man, the menus are, like, getting in my way, and maybe this is a little bit more about information architecture?
yes.
Like, what is your, like, trigger for being like, oh, now it's time, like...
Yeah. So when it comes to this kind of thing, it's like, okay, watching hours and hours and hours of other people play the game. That was like, that was one of the first things that I did when I started. I didn't actually touch any design work for the first couple weeks, probably the first month that I started.
Right.
I just spent a lot of time watching other people play the game and then playing it myself. Like, logged countless hours trying different things, starting a new game, running through it over and over again, and then watching people play Stonehearth and, you know, from here, from a bunch of different countries, to see kind of like how people are interacting with the game, and watching patterns appear over time of ways that players are being forced to optimize patterns and like pathways that aren't great. It's like I have to create new kind of mental pathways in my mind in order to account for the system not working the way that I want it to. So that was one of the key things, is like when you start seeing a lot of that, it's usually a good sign of the UI needs to be reflowed. Like, that's step one. It's like, okay, you can do with like keeping current UI and keeping current menus and reflow them all into a way that makes sense. Or like in this case, because the menus are so huge and they're actually taking up a lot of space that they don't necessarily need to, because they are very stylized, and that's definitely good for the game, and we want to keep that stylization and want to keep true to like the nature of Stonehearth, but we definitely want to not have the stylization and thematic be like getting in the way of gameplay, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. Like I remember the crafter window used to be much smaller. Like it used to actually fit, I think, here, maybe, like, or at least, but this, like, when we dimensionalized it for workshops and level requirement, it was like, oh no, like, how are we going to do this? And we made it bigger. And I think it's a fair question to ask, like, you know, what ways can we re-envision the chrome, like, or whatever, to sort of like remove some of the giant squishiness of it.
Yes.
So that you can now see your dudes. Like, that would be really nice.
Yeah, it's like, I need to see this thing that this guy's working on, or I don't know, someone's attacking me right now and I need to, like, but I want to really craft this thing. So yeah, it's like Citizens menu is like a really, really good example of something that's too big. Especially when you click on them, it focuses the citizen or the you know, Hearthling, and it's like, I want to see the person that's being focused, but I can't actually do that because the menu is so big.
This too, if you'd believe it, was actually used to be just here, but then it was these guys, and we were like, oh no, how are we going to do this?
You're like, uh-oh. I mean, even I was taking a look at the screen, the Citizen screen, and one of the major problems I was having with it was I was taking an early look at like what it would look like to compact that all down in the size that it is now, and I was like, oh man, this thing is so, it was like, I don't even know, so...
Yeah, it makes me feel blind. Like,
yes,
like, I want to know, but I can't. Yeah. So I pause the game, and that's fine. But like, pausing only works in single player, for example. Like, what if we ever get to multiplayer? Like, wouldn't it be terrible if the entire game became unusable?
Yeah. It and like, there's a bunch of other things too. Like, I know everyone on the team. The first question they asked me, and probably everyone out playing the game. First question I got asked by the team. So you guys on the stream, the first question every single person asked me is, when are you going to take a look at the builder? Like, every single person on the team was like, when are you going to take a look at the builder? Because I really just want you to take a look at the builder.
I'm pretty sure that was the first thing I said to you.
Yeah, like
in our first conversation.
But how do you feel about the builder, though? I was like, okay, I guess that's a clear starting point. And actually, that was the first project I started working on before we kind of started going into the happiness stuff. So I definitely will get back to that point. And when it comes to the builder, I think that the goal there is, how can it feel more like it gets out of your way to building things? How can it be more tactile, as in like hands-on? How can I feel like I'm shaping and molding this world, not just delivering items through a menu? How can we make things intuitive, where you can like delete things and edit and, you know, put, you know, windows in stone walls, or erase things so you can like put really creative ladders in there, or really like build anything you really want to build. I think that's like, how can we literally get out of the player's way and let them build the things they want to build? So
do you imagine a builder that leaves the UI and like manipulates the thing, or like...
I think that there's a mix. I think it's going to be a mix of something that is much more minimal than it is now, but gives you really good tools, and then contextually provides you more when you need it. So it's like, okay, I see you're creating a wall. What material do you want this wall to be made out of? Where you place the wall, and then it's like, hey, select the material, and then you can go back and do that same editing process and things like that, where instead of having to do that all in the menu ahead of time, because sometimes it's like, I don't really know what I want it to look like yet. I kind of just want to lay everything out and then make my choices. Or, you know, I want to be able to have some kind of blueprint look that I can kind of plan things out with, instead of it being something I struggle with. So, yeah. Sure. Guess we...
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. Dimago says, Stonehearth, it's already past midnight. Where are you? Where are you in the world, Dimago? It is only 6:30 p.m. here, even though it's, like, super dark. Michael Handy says, on Tridel was his amazing city. He built this amazing city for us during PAX. And he really got all the berry bushes from everywhere on the map. Okay, I feel like we've gotten... Custer's Paul says, I feel like we've gotten so used to Stonehearth's menus that we ignore the problems, so it's cool to see them pointed out.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Like, so players, especially video game players, if you have been playing for a really long time, very intrepid and, like, like willing to go through any level of pain for the most part in order to optimize their gameplay. And so that means that they like will find a path and optimize on the path that exists, even if it's like not great. Like it could be the most painful menu system ever. I'm thinking like what's the Oblivion, like Elder Scrolls Oblivion, like that menu system was so painful, but like I loved the game, so I couldn't stop playing it, so I had to just find out ways to deal with that like janky system. And that's what I'm talking about, is like players will optimize. Like players are smart, they're gonna find a way to optimize and like get through the system, but we need to make it easier. Like we don't need to make people go through that like mental agony all the time in order to do it. So yes, you are probably all used to it as avid players of the game, but like we want to make it much more a breath of fresh air.
Right.
Yeah, so.
And I think your perspective is so, like, I'm so grateful for it, because I can't look at them and see what it could be anymore. Like
you're like, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, like I mean, I use this UI and it barely registers to me as a UI. Like it's like muscle memory. It's like all this stuff, and it's very hard to see it as a new player. And like I do see it sometimes, like when we're at PAX and like someone's like, and I'm like biting my tongue, right, or like biting all my lips and like watching someone and like forcing myself to not like grab the mouse and the keyboard from them and you're like, here, this is how you play.
Yeah, this is how you do it.
So I'm really glad that you have this perspective, because it's really valuable and it's really wonderful. Let's see. Emmy Lopez M asks if you're gonna someday make UX streams. I think.
Yeah, I think that.
If you'd like to.
I think that makes sense. I will be happy to sit and talk UX with whatever. I think that other things that can be fun are like, you know, doing streams of Stonehearth, but also doing streams of other games. Like community recommended. If you want me to take a look at a game and go through like the UX of it and why things are good, why things aren't, then happy to do that too.
Let's see. Speaking of blind, says Katisha Honey, I'm rather blind. I love the large text and graphics, so please not try to make it too small.
Okay, that's good feedback. I think one of the things that for a game of this style, definitely like at least keeping all the font sizes at least like 19 pixels or higher, I think will help. Like the readability of this game is really fantastic, and I don't want to take that away. It's just about kind of finding a balance. But yes, that's a good point. We definitely want to make it accessible for everybody, especially those with, you know, disabilities or who need to be able to like use things like tab and things like that in order to use, you know, work with their keyboard.
Man, we need like the keyboard shortcuts. That's another whole story.
Yes, that's another whole wish list that like Mally specifically is super excited about. So yeah, keyboard shortcuts, another thing for sure.
Geister says, oh god, Undo is such a mess. Geister, Chris has a brand new design for Undo, which should make you both super excited and feel terrified. Like, the keywords there are brand new design. Like, I mean, for how Undo should work behind the scenes so that it'll support all this stuff. But yeah, I guess it's been done kind of like all over the place, and so that's why Undo works for some things and not for others, and he has a more unified design coming. I don't know exactly when he'll work on it, but I'm glad to know that at some point he was like, hey, we could improve our system. So let's see, there's into the game. Stephanie missed your insider joke on past midnight daytime. Like, was it from here? Was it daylight savings time in the game? Yeah. Let's see. Okay, cool. 3 a.m. is Stonehearth o'clock. Yeah, we always have made our night really short. Like, night used to be half the day, but like then it was just dark all the time, and like that seemed less enjoyable, so our night is a little bit skewed. Like maybe it's the summer super far north or something. PC Oblivion menu or console Oblivion menu?
Either one. I mean, PC I think was a little easier. I played it on console, so I wasn't able to kind of like swing my mouse around. I had to like painfully go through each item and dig in there. So yeah, I was on console specifically.
Oh man, Steve Adamo is here. Steve Adamo has been with us since, like many of the people actually on stream, has been with us since the first days of our Kickstarter, and it's a really very cool special thing to see him because, you know, life is busy. So hey Steve.
Hey.
Steve, this is Nikki.
Nice to meet you.
Nikki's working on our UX design for Stonehearth. because some parts of our game are incredibly difficult to use.
Yeah.
So we're going through here, we're playing, and then Nikki's talking about thoughts that she's having and work that she's actively doing right now to make this better. Yes. Night is longer than day in Stonehearth, under certain conditions, hint hint. Yes, Repeat Pan, I am very, very, very much looking forward to a mysterious situation in which night might be longer than day, that you might or might not be releasing or having something to do with soon. Last year, Repeat Pan and Froggy made us an amazing mod around Christmas time called Frost Feast.
Yeah.
And it was just really cool because they'd found a way of manipulating the day-night cycle and changing the temperature and stuff, so people had to stand near fires to stay warm.
That's awesome.
And like he had this amazing tech for chimneys that like we still haven't managed to duplicate, where like you put a chimney in a wall, or you put a fireplace in the wall of a thing and a chimney will shoot out through the roof.
That's so
or
cute.
back out through the back like of the wall, like as an exhaust. So Repeat Pan, I have no idea what you're talking about for this year, but surely we can talk about safely talk about, you know, last year's Frost Feast with no spoilers.
That's really cool. I love stuff like that, and I look forward to things that make Stonehearth feel more alive, because like that's the thing that was exciting when I first started playing, was that it has this RPG quality, this like, hey, I'm not the hero in it this time around. I'm not the hero in this RPG. I'm the people who live in this world and are trying to make it with all these crazy things happening.
Right.
But also like having the feeling that the world is alive and things are happening around me. I think that's super exciting. And having like seasons and weather and things like that, I'm super all about that. Like I love that in games because it just gives it this more quality of reality that's super satisfying.
Man, weather. Like well, it's going to be a long process because I think I definitely want to see what Ali draws. And then after that, Chris is going to go nuts. Yes. Like, Chris has been wanting to add seasons and weather to Stonehearth for like a year now. And I feel bad because, you know, it's like, oh, there's something else. Something else always takes precedence, right? And,
yes.
And he is going to be super pumped when he actually gets to do that.
Yes, I'm looking forward to all that stuff. And really unlocking everyone to kind of build the things that they want in the game, and also like players to like experience the things that they want to experience and have the expectations met. But yeah, I'm super excited for Allie's explorations and her to kind of define what the style is, so that even the menus, for example, and all the UI and all of the like UX stuff that I do could be heavily influenced by the kind of style that she's interested in, because that's really kind of what sells it and gives a little bit more flavor. So
I think one of the things that's interesting, and you guys can totally ask her about it when she streams tomorrow, is, you know, she's done a lot of work in the space that Tom has defined, and I think it's incredibly impressive to me. Like, when you ask Tom to talk about Stonehearth's art style, he can talk about it, but he can talk about what there is, but, like, he hasn't ever really abstracted it out, like, to be like, why is it this way? And one of the things Allie's trying to do right now to make sure that she doesn't, and that other artists who work on Stonehearth don't, like, get away from whatever instinctive truth Tom has found. She's, like, trying to come up with statements that sort of define Stonehearth's art style from a reasoning point of view. Like it's this way because, not just, like, these are the proportions and this is exactly how you should build a house, but, like, no, like these houses should, you know, and I don't want to speak for her because I haven't seen them yet, but, like, these houses maybe should make you feel a sense of warmth, or, like, you know, make you, like Raj says all the time, like, when they're building houses, they're not just building houses, they're building homes, like, you know, to just get at that emotional truth. And anyway, she's been doing really good work on it, I think, and I look forward to
it's pretty fantastic. It's less tactical implementation as it is visionary, right? And it helps that. The reason that's super important is because it then helps any other artists or anybody else who's working on the project to just, you know, come in and understand the reasons why things are the way they are and why we should do them that way, instead of just handing things down. Because if you hand things down and kind of tell people what implementation they do, you're missing on a lot of that creative expression that can happen within that space.
Right, yes. Steve Onama asks, Stonehearth, has there been discussions around seasonal music? Can't wait to hear what the team cooks up. I think actually what we decided was that there should be music for each city tier. And no, you're right. Oh, hey!
Hey, no worries. Party
Guys,
crasher.
that was Matt. Matt works on a completely different project.
He's just looking for a room.
Yeah, this is like Matt's second day of work or something.
He's like, oh, what does this room do? Oh, I'm out.
There's lights. Holy cow. Right, so Steve Adamo, you're right. No, you're totally right. I'm so sorry. You should ask Raj some more, but we have music for each of the kingdoms. So Ascendancy, Rise Children, and Northern Alliance. You're hearing the Rise Children music now in Rise Children. And then he split up that music by season. So there's spring, summer, fall, and winter. And then there's also music for the different city tiers. So like spring for city tier 1 versus fall for city tier 2 and summer for city tier 3. And it actually is tremendously cool. Right now, all the music is actually in the game. It doesn't, because we have no seasons, so like we were just like, hey, why don't you listen to it all? Like it'll provide some variation in your play. And he and Doug and Linda did some work to make sure that one of the things they were experimenting with anyway was that between pieces of music there would be silence, so that you could just hear the ambient sound, so that the music wouldn't overwhelm you or grate on you. And he was saying that it was something he'd noticed in Stardew Valley. This is Doug. Noticed in Stardew Valley and wanted to try here. So I think
that having those moments of peace is nice. It definitely makes you realize that you're hearing nothing versus you're hearing the music being played. So I think that's good. But too much silence also, I'm just like, too much silence might be not great.
So here I'm super excited because I love this merchant, because this merchant, he sells armor.
I didn't understand the importance of armor, so when I played my first couple of games, I didn't actually buy or make armor. I just, I get that it gave you stats, but it wasn't something I prioritized early on because I didn't realize how much of a, bonus it really gave you, how much extra protection.
Which is something that we should definitely address. It's I know, how am I supposed to know?
What is
defense +3?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah. But this looks bad. I have not actually had my trapper going long enough to have made 40 gold so that I could buy this armor. So this is going to be super sad. I mean, I could just sit here and wait, but let's see. Well, if I sold all of these boxes, there. Okay, cool. We can buy 1 suit of armor. Awesome. Well, that was all he had. Okay, so let's see. I have made a dining hall. I've made a sleeping quarters. What would you recommend that I do next?
Dining and sleeping?
Yeah.
What do we have access to?
We could make a carpenter's house.
Yeah, let's do that.
Cool. All right.
I was a big fan of templates too. I know that there's a lot of people on the team who are like, templates are okay, I'd rather just build it myself. But that's how kind of I started playing the game so this comes to a really, really interesting thing that I like to take a look at with all UIs is that the reason I knew templates were the thing and were important was because it's the default in the UI, right? So that's a really important thing from a UI and UX perspective is whatever you make your default or your first button or your first option will most often be the thing that's used first or understood first or explored first. So depends on what we want Stonehearth to be. If it is more on the side of, hey, we want you to build these really unique bespoke towns, or we want you to have an intro to it through these templates, that will dictate kind of which button comes first and what people are introduced to first.
Sure.
I see most new players make templates just because that's what they're introduced to first. And I'm actually a big fan because I think that Ali and Melinda do a really good job on all the templates. So
I agree. I did think that the template should be first because this is like throwing someone into a pool with sharks. If this is your first experience of Stonehearth, you're really not gonna have a good time, I think. I mean, maybe you're cooler than me and you just punch sharks all the time, you guys, but no, it's here because this is super dangerous.
Yeah.
at least when you put this down, you have something to start with. You can then, after you put down this UI, right, like it takes you to the edit UI so that then you can start experimenting with changing the roof color or whatever.
Yes.
But there's something, oh, this is the armor.
It's like cute little armor.
There's something really terrible about the way that, like, if you don't know that you have to start with the floor, you can't build a house with this UI.
Yes.
Like, you're like, oh, I want to build a room. What's wrong with this? Okay, can I? No.
Yep.
Like here, and then you use this tool to try to build a house, and it is over. Like, oh my god, it is so bad. And then you're like, oh, finally the slab tool. I can put down whatever I want, and it's just like, no. Though you were supposed to start here.
Yes, yeah. And this interface actually wasn't too crazy for me because it looks very similar to Sims, for example, and I played a bunch of The Sims when I was younger, so it's like that was pretty familiar in order for me to understand it. But that being said, the rules aren't clear of what's needed for, like, oh, I have to place a foundation first, you know. So
right, yeah. Well, I think we were inspired by The Sims UI, but The Sims for me has always started with drawing a house, like drawing wall loops, basically having a wall outside and being like, this is going to be the dining room, this is going to be the bedroom, and then you add the floors later.
Yep, same.
The floors are completely optional. I mean, they make your Sims unhappy if there's no floor, but like, you know,
although like the room tool was like super handy in some of the later versions where it just plops down the entire room for you. But let's be honest, the first place you start on a Sims game is in the character builder, and you spend like 4 hours in there because you're like, I want this to look just like
Game of Thrones. And here is my Sim town where Benedict Cumberbatch's Sherlock Holmes is going to be hanging out with the cast of Game of Thrones and also the cast of Xena from no. All right, let's see. Michael Handy says, Stonehearth, just so you know, the stock limit is so killing me in Stone Dun due to the fact of having to dig so much. Anything you're going to do to update that, it's really unbearable for underground building. You're running out of inventory. There is an inventory unlimited thing, I think, somewhere. And so there is Michael Handy, if you look on Discourse, there is a thread about how you can go to your user settings and take off the inventory cap, but it might make your game kind of slow. Right? So that was what the inventory cap is for. One thing that people have talked about maybe helping with the underground, with the excessive amount of stuff that comes out of digging, is to turn up the stacks on stone and turn down the drop rate on stone. But that might screw up, if we just did that might screw up the copper ore, like the copper and, you know, precious metal drop. Another thought we've had always, but have never implemented it, is here in the mining menu, we've often wondered what would happen if when you drew out a mining menu, oh geez, if I do that, well, okay, fine, whatever. If I did this, there would be like an additional option here where you could be like, I only want, and then colon, and then you could be like, so that way they don't produce rock if like you've just got too much rock already, and then it doesn't count to your inventory cap. Anyway, these are things we've been thinking about, like actual solutions to follow, but like, it's good to know that your underground building is having trouble because of
whoops. We have no people to defend.
That's okay. They should be relatively innocuous intruders. Maybe they'll just be attacked by foxes. We are actually almost out of wood, so let me issue some orders for that. And then Hearthling defense mode. This is with with that increased bravery thing that oh, there they are, the Stonelings. Yeah, they should be fine.
They should get them.
Yeah. This is with the increased bravery mechanic that I talked about at Desktop Tuesday that I thought was really, really cool, actually, that Linda and Richard worked on. Just insofar as how, like, just changing the buffs so that their courage goes up slowly based on when they're not attacked, like, was able to alter town defense mode significantly without actually, like, changing it. It altered the behavior without adding much code at all. Like, and that means that it's much easier to test and it's much easier to, like, look at and tune than having to, like, for example, rewrite the AI.
They're just having a bad day. They're being attacked. They're all hungry.
Yay!
We
Alright.
made it.
We
made
made
it, boys.
Now we can go eat. To erase the items. It is true, you can do that. It is the last item here, this one. Clear the items out of the world.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Cancel and clear and what they do and how they work is something that I want to work out and fix. Like, it was one of the things that Richard and I talked about, and want to get some clarity on and make the tools really useful, instead of edge casey. So,
yes. Fearshrine asks what's in the next update. I talked about this briefly, but one of the things that Richard noticed, the first thing he noticed about the game is that the food system, the sleeping system, like all the different systems in the game aren't really tied together. And so one of the things he wants to do is tie them all together so in such a way that whenever you optimize for one thing, there's always another horizon of thing you can optimize for. So like you're like, oh, everyone's starving, here, let's start some farms. Oh, like, maybe the farms, like there's something about like the layout of the farms and I should protect them or something, or maybe I should put houses. I don't know. You have to ask him. But the idea is that there should be progressive levels of optimization that you should encounter. So the first way that he has for tackling this in Alpha 20 is to give the Hearthlings revamp the morale system, because right now Hearthlings become happy and sad, and you can sort of read about what they're happy and sad about in the journal, but all this affects is whether or not there's immigration. Like, if there was a more complex system for what made them happy and sad, then that would also encourage you to, like, for example, like to make gameplay changes. Like, if like they were happy, and there's a little bit of that, like, because they're sad that they can't have beds, like, you make them beds. And maybe, like, they have some mechanism for, like, oh, I want my own room, or something like that. And so that would...
To me, it's like the baseline of, hey, when I was a new player, I thought that making comfy beds made a difference over mean beds.
It does.
But, like, a very meaningful difference, and that they just like beds, right? And it's like, yeah. Giving them a comfy bed should be substantially better, and they should feel like they should like that much more. Or when my cook makes something, it should be more enjoyable, and they should go and eat that,
right?
Things like that.
Yeah, like, so stopping them, like, if they draw pleasure from fancy food, then we need a mechanism for them to go get the fancy food instead of, like, there's a pollo pot pie, and then there's berries, and they're eating the berries, and they're like, God damn it, I want the pollo pot pie.
Raw carrots, and raw corn, and they're just, oh man.
Right. So, right, attacked by foxes would be adorable. Right, I refuse to even IB or IM. Michael Handy, I can't believe that you still refuse to IB or IM. That means that our game, like, I can't believe our dudes build your amazing cities. Like, okay, we'll keep getting better. So Squirrel Killer says, is Alpha 19 going to get pushed to Humble? Yeah, sorry about that delay. It should get pushed to Humble hopefully by the end of the week, and we will send updates and all that. Drum Actor asks, Nikki, what are your thoughts on the notifications menu? Personally, it's always bugged me that there's no difference in the icon when there's an important notification like an attack, and a persistent one like the level 2 tier quest.
Yes. Yeah. It's one of the screens I have taken a look at. Still need to finalize, but for the most part, each type of notification will have a different icon and a different, like, coloration. The attacks will be in red, obviously, so you can tell that they're attacks, and then kind of want to take that out of the notification system altogether and have it be on a different place on the screen where it comes up. It is somewhat persistent in a way that maybe isn't obnoxious until the attack is over, so that you understand what's going on. And so you can click it later in order to look, like, back and forth a little bit. The other thing is, like, persistent notifications such as the town quest should look different and more passive or pinned in a way, so that you understand not to look at them when everything else is shuffling in.
Right.
So, yes, definitely take a look at
that. Let's see. Your PC's so slow it takes about 5 seconds to open the journal with all their thoughts. Seeing you just click and appear. Yeah, I think Bruno Supremo, does it take a long time even on the very first day? I feel like the journal is having some trouble. Like, if you're, like, on day 30, like, we need to do something better about what's going on with how the stuff is streamed, like, and saved and stored and loaded. So, like, day 3 is still pretty fast, but, like, later I've noticed too that there's problems. Coasters Paul says, you want to mention Rise Children still talks about the Church of Plenty when they're without food. Yeah, I've been meaning to revamp the journal entries for a while to make them more specific to the different kingdoms, and I think it might be interesting to see them sort of like get rolled into traits, and then we might start to separate them out so that the people from the different kingdoms talk about different things.
That's cute.
Okay. What is the stream about? Let's see. Sophia Chaos. We are today. We're joined by Nikki, who is talking about updates and improvements to the Stonehearth UI, and she's a UX designer, so that is exactly what she.
That's what I'm here to do.
Exactly. Okay, so we have the carpenter's house. We've got dining hall and bedroom. We can start making individual houses, I guess, like.
Oh yeah, the cottage, tiny cottage, cottage for two, super cute.
I actually really like the cottage for two. It's my favorite building.
I really like, which one's my favorite? I think the like building for two and Rise Children is my favorite. It's got that super cute like stairs into the flat platform in the building. That's always really cute. Love that.
So I confess, when I was making that one, I thought, let me make it look like a house from LA.
Yeah, like my influence is
like someplace that, because it's so square, it's so bizarrely modern. Like it could really be like a house that you saw like with that window that protrudes out. That's where like the living room is, and like you just know that like back and to the right there's a kitchen there. And like, anyway,
I love that style. That's probably why it speaks to me, is I really love the modern style. So that's right up my alley. It also makes me think about, so I didn't know before I joined the team about the Northern Ascendancy, the other group of people.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited to see how that gets expressed, because
oh my God,
I love snow and cold weather type of clothing. So I can't wait to see kind of how that one gets expressed as well.
There's an entire line of tiny houses that Tom has where like the embankment, like there's like embankment up around here, and it just looks so like cute. The houses are wearing like turtlenecks. Like, so that was one possible direction. Another one was making the roofs like super steep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know, like the roofs, yeah. The roofs come all the way down to the floor, and it's kind of like that hut.
Yeah. Well, all right, we are coming up on an hour. Do you guys have any last questions for Nikki while we are wrapping up? I will ask in the chat too. And they can also find you on Discourse and stuff, right?
Yes, I'm on Discourse, so you can hit me up there anytime you want.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. I will let it run for a little longer. So, but yeah.
Still one of my favorite things, and the first thing I said when I was in interviews with everyone was like, what's your favorite thing about Stonehearth? And I was like, the fire. The fire is my absolute favorite thing. I was like, this is the coolest thing I've seen in many games. It's just really, really thoughtful and creative. So
I remember someone leaked a picture of that fire and Tom, before we actually pushed, and Tom was so mad. Like, and he like that fire, like the first time he made it in the first like world, we just stood all around his desk for like, I don't know, we were all supposed to go to lunch, but we couldn't move. We were just like standing there, just like and then we made it so that they would stand around the fire and look. Yeah.
Inspirations.
Pac-Man 2035 says, I was thinking today that instead of hearing what music is based on what faction you're using, it makes it based on biome. I'd feel better if I was in the desert and heard the desert music than I was playing with the Ascendancy. The reason that we decided not to do that, although it's a completely valid choice, is we were like, oh, this music belongs to this culture, and no matter where you go, you bring your music with you. And so even if you're Rise Children in the forest, you're still playing the songs that your people invented in the desert. And we felt that gave them... The desert having a music meant that the music didn't really have a source. But tying the music to the people meant that the music was culturally relevant to them. And so that seemed to be more fruitful from a storytelling point of view. Is Northern Alliance going to get steep roofs? Not entirely sure. That would be a cool direction, though. Any new features? We were just talking about Hearthling happiness, so that might be something to look for in Alpha 20, specifically a revamp of the existing morale system. And Jim Axter says, thank you.
You're welcome.
What is one of the many things you would change about the UI that that wanted to change from the get-go, or that you, I guess, wanted to change from the get-go?
Yeah, actually, that's great. I had a few like very strong opinions about what I wanted to change, and I think the one that I like barked about the most when I first got here was fences, because fences drive me absolutely bananas.
Notice how there's no fences in this game.
I realized pretty quickly that I could block off enemies by building fences around my entire towns, but it's such a pain to place fences. It just wasn't a great experience, and yet I felt like it was necessary in order to kind of protect my people. So I was so frustrated with fences. Yep. So fences, definitely something I want to fix, and not only like making them easier to place, something like the ladder tool, or like similar to that, or like incorporating them into the building menu, so you can build like fences or little fences for your places that you have built. Exactly. Same thing with like having ladders be a thing you can build in the builder for decoration and or for
for usefulness.
Yeah.
Every tower I've ever wanted to build, and it was like, I guess I gotta leave the ladders out, and then it's like, gotta remember to put the ladders back in.
I'm glad everyone, and like many people agree.
Yeah.
Fences are a problem.
That would be very cool. All right, neat. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us while we streamed. Thank you, Nikki, for joining us for today's stream.
Yeah, I was happy to say hi to everyone and be on my first stream. So,
and you can find us again here tomorrow. Allie will be streaming tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. PST. One thing that is different about this week's stream schedule is to accommodate Thanksgiving and everyone's crazy schedules. There will not be a stream on Thursday, but there will be another stream this time next week, Tuesday, and then there will not be streams Thursday and Friday of next week, which is during American Thanksgiving. So I hope that you won't miss us, because you will be hanging out with your family eating like lots of turkey or tofurkey or whatever it is that you eat for American Thanksgiving.
Or just being awesome if you're not in America.
Yes, exactly. All right, guys, thank you so much, and we will see you in a bit.
Bye, guys.